Beloved, sometimes we live in cycles we don't even recognize. The same patterns, the same mistakes, the same pain. We tell ourselves, I'll change tomorrow, but tomorrow becomes another repeat of today. And deep down, we start to feel trapped inside our own habits, the ones that quietly steal our peace, our time, and our closeness to God. But here's the truth. No habit, no matter how heavy or dark, is stronger than the one who created you. You are not bound by what you've done repeatedly. You are capable of renewal. Stopping a bad habit is not about perfection. It's about intention. The courage to say, I want better for my soul. This is where real change begins. Not from self-hate, but from self-awareness, mercy, and the desire to return to the person you were meant to be. Every bad habit begins as a small compromise. It's the tiny whisper that says, it's okay just this once. But the truth is, the moment we say yes to that whisper, we begin to give away a piece of our discipline, a fragment of our willpower, a small corner of our soul. Habits don't just shape what we do, they slowly sculpt who we become. Every time we repeat an action that goes against what we know is right for us, we reinforce a chain around our own potential. And those chains are rarely heavy at first. They're light, almost invisible, but with time, they tighten. They begin to limit how far we can grow, how clearly we can think, how deeply we can connect to what's meaningful. Stopping bad habits isn't about suddenly becoming perfect. It's about waking up to the realization that every decision is a vote for the kind of person you wish to be. We often tell ourselves, I can't stop, but that's not the truth. The truth is, we have trained our minds to seek comfort over growth, escape over effort, and distraction over purpose. To stop a bad habit, you must first understand the craving beneath it. What are you really looking for when you open that app again? When you say those hurtful words? When you delay what needs to be done? You are seeking relief. You are trying to fill an emptiness that feels too deep, too raw, too unending. But no habit, no temporary pleasure can heal an unhealed wound. To stop a bad habit, you must first tend to your wound. You must learn to sit with discomfort without running away from it. You must teach your heart to find peace in patience. You must remind yourself that the temporary relief of your habit is not worth the long-term pain of self-betrayal. When you catch yourself in the middle of your old patterns, pause. Just pause. Feel the pull and recognize it for what it is, a test of your awareness. The power to stop isn't found in the future version of you who has it all figured out. It's in the present moment, right now, in the decision you make when the urge rises. Freedom from bad habits isn't built by grand resolutions, but by small acts of resistance repeated daily. Each time you say no, you grow stronger. Each time you choose clarity over comfort, you rewrite the story your mind has been telling you. And when you fail, and you will sometimes, don't drown in shame. Shame feeds the habit you're trying to destroy. Instead, turn your failure into a lesson. Ask what it was trying to show you about your triggers, your pain, your needs. Then try again with softness, not self-hatred. Remember that growth is not a straight line. It's a journey of falling, standing, learning, and rising again. Every day you try is a day your mind begins to believe that change is possible. So start small. Be gentle. Replace your bad habits, not with punishment, but with purpose. Create an environment where the person you want to become can breathe. Let go of the shame that keeps you chained to your past. You are not your habits. You are the awareness behind them. And once you begin to awaken that awareness, your habits no longer control you. You begin to see that every moment of choice is an invitation to rebuild yourself from the inside out. The power to stop is already within you. It only needs your attention, your consistency, and your belief that you are worthy of a life that feels lighter, freer, and whole again. Awareness is the beginning of every transformation. You cannot change what you refuse to see, and you cannot heal what you keep hiding from yourself. Many of us live on autopilot, repeating the same patterns day after day, wondering why life feels stagnant or heavy. We scroll without thinking, speak without reflection, react without awareness. Our bad habits often live in the spaces where we have stopped paying attention. They grow in our blind spots, fed by denial and distraction. To stop a bad habit, you must first learn to pause and observe. Awareness is not about judging yourself. It's about seeing yourself with honesty and compassion. Ask yourself, when do I fall into this habit the most? What emotion usually comes before it? Is it boredom, anxiety, loneliness, fear? Every habit is a response to something deeper. When you begin to notice your triggers, you start to understand the language of your own pain, and understanding is the first step to freedom. But awareness requires courage. It's not easy to face the truth about why we do what we do. It's painful to admit that sometimes we choose distraction because we're afraid to face our own thoughts. It's humbling to realize that the things we blame others for are often reflections of the battles inside us. Yet awareness is not meant to shame you. It's meant to awaken you. When you see clearly, you begin to separate yourself from your habit. You stop saying, I am lazy, and start saying, I feel unmotivated right now. You stop saying, I am addicted, and start saying, I am struggling with a pattern that I can change. That small shift in language transforms everything because it gives you space between who you are and what you do. In that space, change becomes possible. You begin to see the moments before your actions, the seconds when choice exists, and those moments are sacred. That's where power lives. If you want to stop a bad habit, train yourself to notice those in-between moments. The pause before you reach for your phone, the silence before you speak in anger, the stillness before you give up on your goal. In that pause, you are free. It's not willpower that changes you. It's awareness in action. Start journaling your patterns. Write down what triggers your habits and how you feel before, during, and after. You'll begin to see that your bad habits are not random. They follow emotional cues. When you're tired, you crave comfort. When you're stressed, you crave control. When you're lonely, you crave distraction. Once you recognize these patterns, you can prepare for them. You can create healthier responses before the habit even begins. Awareness allows you to interrupt the cycle at its root instead of just trimming the branches. And don't rush this process. Awareness is not a switch you flip. It's a muscle you build. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. Some days you'll catch yourself too late after the habit has already happened. That's okay. The fact that you noticed is already progress. Awareness turns regret into reflection, and reflection into wisdom. Over time, your self-awareness will become your shield. You will begin to sense your triggers before they take hold, and instead of falling into the same trap, you'll choose differently. When you live with awareness, you begin to take ownership of your life again. You realize that your mind is not your enemy. It's a tool that can be trained. Every moment of awareness is a moment of awakening. You'll start to feel the difference between acting out of habit and acting out of intention. You'll begin to see how often the mind seeks escape instead of peace. And slowly, gently, awareness will lead you back to yourself. So start with one small step. Just notice, when you feel the pull of your old pattern, stop and breathe. Ask yourself what you're really feeling. What are you trying not to face? What do you actually need right now? Sometimes awareness reveals that what you truly crave is not the habit, but connection, rest, or understanding. When you honor those needs with honesty, the grip of your bad habits begins to weaken. Awareness is not the end of your journey. It is the doorway to freedom. Once you walk through it, everything that once controlled you begins to lose its power. Breaking a bad habit isn't only about removing something harmful. It's about filling the emptiness it leaves behind with something meaningful. Because when you take something out of your life, you create a void. And unless that space is filled with purpose, intention, or healing, the old habit will find its way back. You cannot simply stop. You must replace. You cannot just close the door. You must open another one that leads somewhere better. Every habit, even the bad one, serves a purpose. They comfort, distract, or numb. They help you cope with something you haven't yet learned to face. So when you decide to stop, understand this. The habit isn't the real problem. It's the substitute for an unmet need. To truly change, you must discover what that need is and meet it in a healthier way. When you feel the urge to fall back into your old pattern, pause and ask yourself, what am I really craving right now? Maybe it's peace after a stressful day. Maybe it's attention, validation, or a sense of control. Once you name the craving, you can respond to it differently. Instead of escaping, you can engage. Instead of numbing, you can nurture. Replace the habit with something that genuinely feeds your soul. If your habit is scrolling endlessly through social media because you crave connection, replace it with a meaningful conversation with someone who uplifts you. If your habit is overeating because you're trying to fill an emotional void, replace it with journaling, prayer, a walk, or deep breathing that connects you back to your body. If your habit is procrastination because you fear failure, replace it with small, consistent action that builds confidence rather than perfection. The process of replacing a habit is not about deprivation. It's about transformation. You are not losing something. You are gaining clarity about what truly sustains you. Every time you replace a bad habit with something meaningful, you rewire your brain to associate fulfillment with growth instead of escape. The more you do this, the stronger those new pathways become. Change then stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like alignment. But this replacement must come from love, not punishment. Too often, people try to quit bad habits by being harsh with themselves. They think discipline means self-rejection, but real discipline is an act of love. It's saying, I deserve better than this. Replacing a bad habit with something nourishing is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's understanding that you cannot heal darkness with more darkness. You heal it by bringing light, by introducing something life-giving where once there was something draining. And remember, you will fail sometimes. You will slip. You will have days where you go back to your old ways, not because you are weak, but because healing is not linear. Be gentle with yourself when that happens. Don't focus on the mistake, focus on the recovery. Ask, what can I do differently next time? What can I learn from this? Every failure, when met with awareness and compassion, becomes part of your transformation. Replacing habits also means restructuring your environment. Create physical and emotional spaces that support your change. If you are trying to stop wasting time online, make your environment less tempting. Set limits, remove triggers, create sacred spaces for reflection, reading, or creativity. If your bad habit involves people or environments that pull you back into old versions of yourself, it's okay to distance yourself. You cannot heal in the same environment that hurt you. Surround yourself with what reminds you of your strength, not your struggle. The truth is, no one breaks a habit by force. They outgrow it. They rise above it by becoming more conscious, more fulfilled, more whole. When you begin to fill your life with peace, gratitude, creativity, and purpose, your old habits will lose their power naturally. They will no longer fit the version of you that you're becoming. What once felt like a source of relief will begin to feel heavy, unnecessary, and foreign. That's how transformation happens. Not in a single act of resistance, but through consistent replacement with what nourishes your soul. So replace the habit, not with emptiness, but with meaning. Replace distraction with devotion. Replace self-criticism with compassion. Replace numbness with awareness. Replace what hurts you with what heals you. When you fill the spaces of your life with things that reflect your true worth, the bad habits will no longer have room to live, because light and darkness cannot occupy the same space. And when you choose light, darkness has no choice but to fade. The people and environments around you quietly shape the person you are becoming. Whether you realize it or not, your surroundings feed your habits. Every conversation, every place you visit, every voice you listen to, these are like seeds that take root in your mind. If you want to stop bad habits, you cannot stay planted in the same soil that keeps watering them. You must create an environment that nurtures the version of you who wants to grow. It is not enough to decide to change in isolation. You must build a world around you that supports that decision. The truth is, habits are contagious. We mirror the energy of the people we spend the most time with. If you are surrounded by those who normalize procrastination, negativity, or distraction, you will absorb it without realizing it. But if you choose to walk beside those who speak truth, who live with intention, who remind you of your potential, you begin to reflect that too. Change becomes lighter when you are in company that believes in growth. Take a moment to evaluate your circle. Who are the people who make you feel more alive, more purposeful, more aligned with who you want to be? And who are the ones who drain your spirit, who make you question your worth, or who feed the habits you are trying to escape? Sometimes, the hardest part of transformation is letting go of the environments that are comfortable but no longer healthy. But healing demands honesty. If your surroundings constantly pull you back into your old patterns, no amount of willpower will save you. You must step out of the noise that keeps you small and find the silence that helps you see clearly. The same is true for the spaces you inhabit. Look around your physical environment. Is it filled with clutter, distractions, or reminders of your old self? Your outer world often mirrors your inner one. Clearing your space can clear your mind. Organize the areas where you spend your time. Create corners of peace where you can think, write, or reflect. Keep reminders of your purpose, words, verses, or images that lift you when your discipline feels weak. Your environment should breathe life into you, not chaos. Every time you enter that space, you should feel aligned with the person you are trying to become. And don't underestimate the power of community. Find people who are also striving to change, who understand the struggle, who remind you that you're not alone. Share your journey with them, not for validation, but for accountability. When you stumble, they will lift you. When you succeed, they will celebrate you. Growth is contagious in the right company. But remember, not everyone will understand your transformation. Some will try to pull you back because your change challenges their comfort. Don't take it personally. Not everyone is meant to walk every season of your journey. Some people were only chapters, not the whole story. As you change your surroundings, also change what you consume. The books you read, the music you listen to, the words you allow into your mind, all of it matters. If you constantly feed your soul with noise, comparison, or negativity, your spirit will weaken. But if you fill it with wisdom, reflection, and stillness, your inner voice will grow stronger. Your mind is like a garden. What you plant will grow. You cannot grow peace if you constantly water distraction. You cannot grow strength if you constantly feed self-doubt. Be intentional with what enters your world. Transformation is not just about personal effort. It's about alignment. Align your environment with your goals. Align your circle with your growth. Align your habits with your higher self. When everything around you reflects your intention to change, your mind begins to adapt naturally. Change becomes less of a battle and more of a rhythm. You start to see that it's not only about avoiding the bad, it's about surrounding yourself with so much good that the bad begins to lose its attraction. So choose your environment wisely. Protect your peace fiercely. Walk with those who speak to your soul, not your weakness. Create spaces that remind you who you are when you forget. Every person, every place, every sound that enters your world is either pulling you closer to your purpose or further away from it. Build a life where your surroundings whisper. Every single day, keep going. You're becoming. Forgiveness is one of the most essential parts of transformation. Yet, it's also one of the hardest. When you try to change a bad habit, there will be moments when you stumble, when you fall short of your own expectations, when you repeat the very pattern you promised yourself you would never return to. And in those moments, the voice of shame will rise. It will whisper that you are weak, that you'll never change, that you are defined by your failures. But that voice is a lie. Shame does not build discipline. It destroys it. It tells you that you are unworthy of growth, when in truth, your failure is proof that you are trying to stop bad habits. You must learn the art of forgiving yourself again and again, because without forgiveness, every mistake becomes a wound that never heals. When you fall back into old behaviors, the instinct is to punish yourself. You feel anger, regret, disappointment, but punishment never creates change. It only deepens pain. The mind begins to associate transformation with suffering, and soon you stop trying altogether. What you truly need in those moments is compassion, the kind that says, yes, I failed today, but I am still worthy of trying again tomorrow. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing the habit. It means refusing to let guilt hold your potential hostage. It's the quiet decision to start again, to believe that one slip doesn't erase all your progress. Every time you forgive yourself, you strengthen the belief that you are bigger than your mistakes. Forgiveness softens the heart, and a soft heart is where true change begins. You cannot grow from a place of harshness. When you forgive yourself, you begin to see your bad habits not as signs of weakness, but as messages, signals that point toward areas of unhealed pain. Maybe you procrastinate because you fear not being good enough. Maybe you lash out because you've been carrying anger for too long. Maybe you escape into distractions because you're trying to avoid grief or loneliness. When you stop judging yourself and start understanding yourself, you can finally address the root instead of just the surface. Forgiveness opens that door. It allows you to move from self-criticism to self-awareness, from shame to healing. Many people believe that guilt is what keeps them disciplined, but guilt is heavy. It paralyzes. Forgiveness, however, is light. It motivates. Guilt says, "You failed, so stop trying." Forgiveness says, "You've fallen, but rise again." The more you practice forgiving yourself, the faster you recover from setbacks, and recovery is what truly matters. Progress is not about never failing, it's about shortening the distance between the fall and the rise. When you can forgive quickly, you begin to build resilience, the strength to keep moving forward, no matter how many times you stumble. But forgiveness also means releasing the need to be perfect. Perfection is an illusion that keeps you stuck. You don't have to get everything right to be worthy of peace. You just have to keep showing up for yourself with sincerity. When you forgive, you acknowledge that growth is messy and nonlinear. You give yourself permission to be human, to learn, to try, to fail, and to begin again. The journey of breaking bad habits is not a straight road. It's a spiral that brings you closer to truth with every turn. Even when you fall, you're not back at the beginning. You're falling forward into deeper awareness. Forgiveness also transforms how you view your past. Many of your bad habits were born out of survival. They were ways of coping when you didn't have the tools or support you needed. You may not be proud of them, but they helped you survive something you didn't yet know how to face. So instead of hating the parts of yourself that created those habits, thank them for carrying you this far, and then release them. You don't need them anymore. You are not that person anymore. Forgiveness allows you to honor your past without being imprisoned by it. The more you forgive yourself, the freer you become. You stop carrying the weight of yesterday into today. You begin to live from a place of peace instead of punishment. And from that peace, transformation flows naturally. Because when the heart is light, the mind becomes clear. You stop seeing change as a war and begin to see it as healing. So when you fail, and you will, don't run from it. Pause, breathe, reflect, and forgive. Speak gently to yourself as you would to a friend. Remind yourself that growth is not about never falling, but about never giving up on yourself. Each act of forgiveness is a seed of resilience planted deep in your soul, and one day you will look back and realize that the very moments you thought were your weakest were the ones that made you strong enough to finally break free. The journey of breaking bad habits is not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about showing up for yourself again and again, even when you're tired, even when you've failed, even when it feels like you're starting from the same place. The truth is, transformation rarely happens in one grand moment of change. It happens quietly, in the repetition of small choices that seem insignificant, but slowly rebuild the foundation of who you are. Too often, people give up because they mistake slow progress for no progress. They believe that if they can't change overnight, they'll never change at all. But every time you choose awareness over impulse, every time you pause before reacting, every time you begin again after falling, that is victory. That is what reshapes your life. Consistency is what teaches your mind that you are serious about change. The brain is wired by repetition. It learns by what you do daily, not occasionally. So even if your steps are small, keep taking them. If you fail 9 times but stand up 10, that 10th attempt carries all the wisdom of the first 9. Don't let impatience steal your transformation. A seed doesn't grow the moment it's planted. It must stay hidden beneath the surface, rooted in faith until it's ready to bloom. You might not see the change happening yet, but beneath the surface, something powerful is shifting. Every act of persistence is watering that seed. There will be days when you'll question whether it's worth it. The old patterns will whisper, "You've tried before, and it didn't work." But that voice only speaks from the past. It doesn't know your potential. You are not the same person you were when you failed last time. Every attempt shapes you, strengthens you, matures you. Every repetition of effort rewires your mind to choose growth over regression. You may still feel the pull of your old habits, but every time you resist, the pull weakens. It might not disappear instantly, but its control begins to fade. Persistence is also about patience with the process. Healing and change are not linear journeys. Some days you'll feel unstoppable, other days you'll feel like you've gone backward, but even the backward moments teach you something. They reveal your triggers, your weaknesses, your blind spots, and when you use those lessons, you move forward with deeper understanding. Don't let a single setback convince you that you've lost all progress. The road to freedom is made up of moments where you keep walking, even when it's hard to see where you're going. To stay persistent, connect deeply with your why. Why do you want to stop this habit? What kind of person do you want to become? What peace are you seeking? When your why is strong, your willpower becomes steady, because willpower alone fades, but purpose endures. Remind yourself daily of that purpose. Write it down, speak it, visualize it. Every time you feel like quitting, return to your why. Let it become your anchor in the storm. And don't walk this path alone. Surround yourself with people who remind you of your strength when you forget it. Sometimes persistence looks like reaching out for help, admitting that you can't do it alone. There is no weakness in needing support. In fact, it's one of the strongest choices you can make to say, "I'm struggling, but I'm still trying." When you allow others to walk with you, your persistence becomes a shared force, not a solitary struggle. Remember, the purpose of persistence isn't to prove that you never fail. It's to prove that you never stop trying. Every time you return to your goal after falling, you are training your heart to believe in renewal. That belief is what transforms your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who always fails and start seeing yourself as someone who never gives up. That shift is what truly breaks the cycle. So keep showing up, even if your progress feels invisible. Keep going, even when it feels repetitive. Keep trying, even when the world tells you that change takes too long. Because one day, you'll wake up and realize the habit that once controlled you no longer has a hold on you. You'll notice peace where there used to be chaos, strength where there used to be struggle, calm where there used to be compulsion. That is the quiet miracle of persistence. It doesn't just change your habits, it changes your heart. Change will not come from perfection. It will come from persistence, faithful, gentle, unwavering persistence. And if you can keep showing up for yourself, even in your weakest moments, even when no one sees the effort but you, then you are already winning. Because the power to overcome was never outside of you. It was always in the daily choice to rise again.